Are you bored of Suicide Squad videos yet? It's okay, I will be bored of them in about a week's time. This is Suicide Squad number 3 from the second Suicide Squad series. There were 2 Suicide Squad books, 2 attempted revivals, before the New 52 brought the concept back to major prominence. Nobody really talks about those 2 series that are located between the original and the New 52. They didn't talk about them because they are not great. This one has a great creative team, but it falls short of being a good book, or at least consistently a good one. This is a decent issue, one of the best ones of this series, and the squad in this one is really just one character that people know, and then a bunch of dead bodies. It really is a testament to the writers and editors that they have assembled a team of characters here, and I only recognise 2 of them. On the left there we have the roster, and I'll run through them now from top to bottom. First is the team leader, Bolt. He is one of those bad guys who crop up everywhere from time to time, but whenever he is not on panel, people instantly forget he exists. He was a baddie in a Captain Atomant issue 9, I want to say. He was actually a baddie in one of the last stories in the previous Suicide Squad series, and now he is here. Then we have Larvanaut, who is like Ant-Man. He has a telepathic bond with ants. He has a connection to ants. He can communicate with them or whatever. With the characters that are different now, I'm going to try and guess where they come from. And I spent 10 minutes before the video working these out in my mind. I think Larvanaut is probably a 90s Flask villain. He would have been in one issue of the Flask, probably around issue 57. He feels like an issue 57 bad guy. Next, we have the most well-known one, Crystal Frost. She is a Fire Lord bad guy. She is great, and she might be related to Emma Frosty's, so that is good. Next, we have a guy called Putty. He has a name that tells you everything you need to know about his powers. And he has a single character trait. So, I am guessing that he comes from Batman and the Insiders. He will have been on a villain team in that. And lastly, at the bottom, we have Eliza. And I said I spent 10 minutes trying to mentally work out where these characters potentially came from. And most of that time was spent on this one. She can talk to animals. That is Eliza's power. And because of... I just got it. Eliza Doolittle. I didn't think that changes any of my logic. I think because of her crap code name, because of her crap design, and because of her uninventive power. I'm pretty sure she is one of those 1993 crossover characters. One of them awful new ones that they introduced in that blood tie story that I ate. I reckon Wonder Woman's annual, they probably introduced her in that. If I am right about any of those theories, please like the video. I think my logic is sound. The premise of this Suicide Squad series was that they were being brought together by some war comic characters. Sergeant Fury, he was like the leader. And this book was trying to blend John Ostrich's Suicide Squad with the original wartime Suicide Squad. I'll talk about that in another video. There is a better issue of this series to discuss this take. But what I like once and what I mostly don't like is the book's approach to the villains. This is written by Kevin Giffen, and the bad guys are in full-on dysfunctional Justice League International comedy routine mode. I think that can work once, but for all 12 issues, it is that. If you read one issue, it's mostly fine. It doesn't work for all of them, and I would say that it doesn't really work with these characters. And what really doesn't work in any issue is often you read their bickering like this from back at base when the overseers are monitoring them, and when you start reading those bits, you have no clue who is really saying off of the lines. I think this issue has a good plot, a nice standalone story, very fatalistic. The team have been sent to get rid of a nest of intelligent flesh-devouring ants. That is where Larvanaut and Eliza come in handy. They have obviously been picked for their powers being useful in this case. Larvanaut can track the ants, and Eliza can speak to them. But straight away, Larvanaut ditches the rest of the team. He senses something and runs off ahead, and they never catch up with them. They go to a hotel where most of the ants are. Bolt is an arsehole. He is written as a jerk, so it is no surprise he fucks up and falls through the floorboards straight away, and he is injured. And rather than help him, Crystal Frost just says, "Sod him," and she and the rest of the team leave him there to be potentially ate by these evil ants. Down here, we see Larvanaut is up to something else entirely. He's not even at the hotel that the others have gone to. I kinda recommend this issue. If you normally cannot stomach the Kevin Giffen banter, avoid it. But this is the strongest issue of this series, or at least the strongest issue that is Suicide Squad. And this plot, I think they could expand this into a movie plot. and it would work, but it would get bad reviews and no one would go and see it because the bad guys are a swarm of evil smart ants. Moviegoers aren't ready for that. They apparently weren't ready for a giant alien starfish. I didn't think they can deal with ants as bad guys. The ants were a weapon created by a lab to be deployed in war. And the Suicide Squad, they are not encountering anyone else here because the ants are a bloody effective bit of biological warfare. And they are trying to locate the Hive and the Queen. And then they find the Hive and Eliza tries to speak to the ants and talk things through with them and tell them that they are not their enemies. But the ants don't believe her and they attack them. Crystal Frost is quick to act on the defensive and seals herself and Putty off inside an ice storm, but she wasn't quick enough to get Eliza, or Eliza was too far away, or she doesn't care about Eliza. Then Putty's one character trait surfaces, and that is that he is claustrophobic, and being stuck in Crystal Frost's shield is driving him crazy, so he smashes out. And then we get to see the remains of Eliza. The ants devoured her skin and she is just a skeleton. Then there is an explosion and that is Putty dead. And we catch up with one of the ones we left behind, Bolt. Even with his injuries, he limps towards the team. He wants revenge on Crystal Frost for leaving him behind to die. And instead, he gets caught in the explosion too. And he dies. But what about Larvanaut? Well, he went off on his own with the real mission. He knew where the Queen was. And the others didn't know that they were providing a distraction so that Larvanaut could get close and then kill the Queen, because the Queen was like what was controlling them and making them smart or something like that. And now we finish the comic with our main survivor, Crystal Frost. We see her among the skeletons of her teammates. There is Bolt. Bolt turns up alive a few years after this without explanation. Comic book continuity. That is the end of the issue there, and I like this comic. There are some problems, but if you read one issue of this series, make it this one. It captures the tone and the spirit and the cynical edge of the original series. And it has got intelligent ants as the bad guy. I might look at issue 4 of this series. That one is interesting, but if you're fed up of Suicide Squad, then I won't. I'll give this one 7 thumbs up.